Well, hello and good morning to everybody, and welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone, a bi-weekly live stream all about amateur radio portable ops. My name is Charlie, call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor. And with me this morning is one of the show's two co-hosts, Dan, KC7MSU.
Morning.
Brian, our other co-host, is in the air as we speak. He's a pilot and had a job come up, so he's off doing work on this fine Saturday. I'm also pleased to introduce to you today's guests, Chris, M0RSF, and Fraser, Mike 0 Echo Foxtrot India.
Hi, everyone.
And of course, as always, we have our regular characters in the chat room. Please, if you have any comments or questions, especially questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. We'll make sure to bring them up and answer them, and appreciate your participation. If you have, if you like the podcast version of this show, it is converted to a podcast and is available about 24 hours after the show goes live in most cases. And so let's go ahead and get caught up on what's going on in everybody's world. I'll just go ahead and start. This last week, I haven't really been doing a whole lot of anything other than I guess I did one SOTA activation. What was it? Probably yesterday. That was when I hiked to the top of Lone Mountain, and as I was cresting the peak, started getting visited by some killer bees. They're Africanized bees. And so I thought, oh, I will just set up and it shouldn't be too bad. And as I proceeded to set up, I kept asking myself, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And when I finally got set up, I'm like, okay, this is not good. And I tore right back down and pulled out the handy-talkie and conveniently was able to work 4 people VHF in a matter of I think the first QSO, it was within a minute. So I think in about 90 seconds, I had the summit activated and I was out of there. So that's what consists of my activations and summits on the air radio stuff in the last week or so. Of course, I've been chasing a little bit. Go ahead, Dan, what do you have?
Well, let's see here. Unfortunately, I haven't been on a summit in a little while here, but planning on getting back out. So we've been kind of just working on some things at home. One of the things I got to do was I got to chase some 13 colonies. I didn't get shut out, but I didn't get a sweep at all. So that was pretty fun. I think I got 3 or 4 total out of the 13. So that was a lot of fun to chase. Been working on the lab, so lab's been changing as you can see behind me. So got to do some prototyping and been working on some microprocessor stuff, some ARM development stuff. So got to torch my first ARM processor because I wasn't paying attention to where I was hooking things up. But that's what replacements are all for. Also, just been working with some programming languages, some Python stuff, so we can do some things hopefully a little easier next year at Field Day.
Nice. Yeah, Python isn't too bad once you get the hang of it. It's a pretty interesting language. I've used it a little bit too. Cool. All right. Well, let's go over here to Chris, M0RSF, and have him introduce himself a little bit. Welcome to the show, Chris. Glad to have you back. As you mentioned, I didn't check, but as you mentioned, 18 months ago, he was on as a guest, and we had a good time with him. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself again and your YouTube channel.
Yes. Good morning to you both. Thanks for having us on again, Charlie. Always a pleasure. Licensed 2005. The YouTube channel is about QRP and portable operating. It's low power stuff, and not done much radio these last couple of weeks. But 2 weeks ago, my partner Natalie and we were on holiday up in Cumbria, and it was the hottest June on record. We got 29 degrees. Still managed to get 4 SOTA activations in. Nothing too substantial. Some low level stuff. And the videos are up there on the YouTube channel. 4 videos on they're all qualified on VHF on 2 meter FM. So yeah, nothing the last couple of weeks. Was going to be out today. there was a GW SOTA event, Wales SOTA event, but the weather had other ideas. We've had some storms, but there were gaps in it. There were gaps in the storms, to be fair. Now, what I should have done was drive up to the parking spot for the summit that I had in mind in the car, taking all my 2 metre SSB gear. Fraser and I were going to try for a 2 metre SSB contact. I should have taken the equipment with me. I could have chased the GW summits from the car. Then when they were breaking the weather, I could have nipped up the summit. It's only 10-15 minute walk to the activation zone of the summit I had in mind, but we didn't do that. So yeah, that's what it's about, Charlie. QRP, cool. Low power portable operating for all the various award schemes.
Cool, very good. I have to make sure that I understood this correctly. You said that it got hot, and that it was. Did you say 29 Celsius? 29
Celsius. Sleeping was uncomfortable at night. It was too much. I don't like hot weather as it is, but yeah. 29 Celsius. Two of the days were 29 Celsius.
That converts to 85 degrees.
Yeah, that's warm. So we stayed at the holiday accommodation where we were on holiday with. We stayed there most of the time. We have dogs. We took them out early morning so they could have a walk, and then just stayed at the property a couple of days, just not doing much.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you are familiar with the temperatures in Arizona, right, Chris?
Not over popular.
Let's see. It's 93 at my house right now, and it's 8:30.
The next week or so, it's going to be in the 115-ish area, 115, 16. Yes. Which, let's see, what does that convert to? 115. That's 46, over 46 degrees. Yeah.
Blimey. So 29 degrees to you guys, you need a big coat.
I was just wanting to make sure I heard that correctly. But I understand, because if you're from a place that is usually colder than that, 85. If you're not used to 85 degrees, then of course it's going to be not comfortable for sure.
It was very.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's a dry heat here in Arizona, kind of like a blast furnace.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay, you're up, Fraser.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Fraser, MM0EFI. I live on the eastern edge of the Cairngorms National Park in northeast Scotland. So I'm right on the edge of a wilderness, and that's where I spend most of my time. I've filmed things for hobbies since I was young, and when I started doing SOTA, I naturally started filming my hikes and activations. So yeah, my channel's a SOTA channel. The reason the word rover is in there is I've got 5 Land Rovers sitting in my yard from sort of 1969 up to the 1980s. So they keep me busy as well, and you'll sometimes see one of those on one of my films. So
did you work on those as a mechanic then?
Well, I did electronic engineering at university, but I've worked in retail for my entire professional career. So the Land Rover thing is purely a hobby thing, but I pretty much rebuild them and maintain them myself. Yeah, they never see a professional workshop.
That's great. That's good.
So I had an interesting week. There's a program that's not SOTA. It's called HEMA, which is hills of 150 meters down to 100 meters prominence, and it's Chris that suggested I try it. And the reason I wanted to do a local hill this week is my wife's recuperating from an operation, and I took the week off to care for her. So I went up this hill quite casually on Wednesday morning, and it's only a mile's walk from the house, and it was an absolute jungle. I barely made it to the top, and I think it will make a good video. And then this morning, similar to Chris, the big activation event down in Wales today. So I went up my local summit, which I can see from that window behind me, Morven, and I turned on the radio. I'd already set up an inverted V, which is unusual for me, but it was windy and I wanted everything to kind of be together. And a Yagi for 2 meters. Got going with my FT857, which I don't often use on the hills these days. First QSO on 40 meters, summit to summit with Wales. I was like, yes, let's go. And then the volume just went off on the radio. There was no RX audio whatsoever. And I don't know if the encoder's gone. I wasn't about to take it apart on the hill.
Yeah.
So to try and get another 3 contacts to salvage, similar to you, I took out the handheld, and I live in a VHF dead zone because I'm quite rural, but I did have my Yagi, so I took my Yagi handheld, and I had the handheld, and I was waving it about like a lunatic. The hill walkers that were coming past were, there weren't too many, but there were people looking over thinking, what the hell is that guy doing? So I managed to scrape another 3 contacts, mainly due to Twitter, because there's a good sort of Twitter community up here in North Scotland and Northeast Scotland. So I got my next contacts, and that was it, back down to the house. So yes, I've got a broken FT857. I'll have to investigate at some point.
Oh man, those things, they are great radios, but they're kind of on their way out, aren't they?
Yeah, it's an old set for sure. But
Yeah.
it's, you know what, there's nothing else that will do all of those bands and all of those modes, and you can just have one box, and it does it all at 100 watts as well. It's a superb radio.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right. Well, so for the crowd listening, we have kind of prepared a few topics that we want to talk about, but also we're just going to let this conversation go wherever it goes. And as you were talking, the two of you, I thought the first question I'd ask before we get into the topic is, what programs do you most participate in? And I asked that because here in the United States, of course, we have the most popular program is Parks on the Air. I would say much more popular than any of the other portable events or programs. And then following that's probably Summits on the Air, and then there's various other little fun things like the Polar Bear Group and Bumblebee. I don't know what the Bumblebee Group is called exactly, but anyway, there's other ones. And anyway, I know that there's HEMA. I became familiar with HEMA when Chris was on last time, but talk to me a little bit about, so for me, I do Summits on the Air probably 80% of the time, and then every once in a while I'll go do Parks on the Air, and then a few other portable events here and there. Dan, is that about right for you?
Yeah, primarily SOTA is my thing. I think I've got only 2 parks on the air, but there's another program that my wife is very interested in, which is Beaches on the Air. So it looks like that's going to be a thing for us as well. So
okay, yeah, there's no beaches in Arizona, so you'll have to travel. I'm sure that'll be fun.
Definitely.
That's cool. You know what? There's a group of guys in England mainly that go out every morning at 6 a.m. onto local beaches, and they work amazing DX with just normal portable setups, just because they've got a vertical in that salt water thing. And it's something I definitely want to try myself.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's something that interests me, because DX here in Arizona is difficult, especially for me, and that would be a lot of fun on a beach.
Okay, Fraser, what about you?
Yeah, well, I got into SOTA from a sort of mountaineering background. My amateur radio license had been pretty dormant for a while, so I concentrated on doing that, and there's so much around here to do. With the YouTube guys in the UK, I did a WWFF, Worldwide Flora and Fauna, where you have to have 45 contacts, or 44, and I managed that, and I did it from inside the Land Rover with a big mast, and so that was quite good. And then I kind of inadvertently did another one when I was in Tenerife, because I was on a mountain in Tenerife doing SOTA, and I had such a pile up, and the bands were really open. I started on 10 meters and worked down, and I ended up with about 50 contacts. And somebody emailed me afterwards and said, do you realize you were in a WWFF and you were in a POTA place as well? So it counted for everything.
Wow.
So it's my only Parks on the Air was accidental.
Oh, okay. So I know every once in a while I see comments or people make comments about worldwide flora and fauna. Not very popular here in the United States, I don't think. I think that's much to the chagrin of the worldwide flora and fauna people. But is it? Would you say it's worldwide flora and fauna is more popular there than POTA, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I certainly know that our friend Dave, EI5 IMB, who's in the Republic of Ireland, they don't even have a POTA organisation there, but they do have worldwide flora and fauna as well. But the POTA is starting to take off here, but I think people do still see it as an American scheme.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, Chris, what about you?
I think the main one I participate in is Summits on the Air. Let's see, our first license 2005. I think SOTA started 2002. And I'd worked a couple, I'd chased a couple when I'd not been licensed very long. And one of the chaps at the radio club, where I'm a member, asked if I'd logged them. He said, have you logged them on the SOTA database? And I didn't have a clue. I just put them in my paper logbook at the time. And that's how I got into it. He told me how to log them, create an account, things. So SOTA's the main one. As Fraser says, we between us, the four of us, we did a worldwide flora and fauna event, which were good. That were popular. And of course, the HEMA, which you mentioned, the Humps Excluding Maryland's Award, that can be quite interesting. It's got quite a following. Fraser will agree with me on this, that we have some regular chasers. You're probably the same, Charlie, Dan, when you're activated.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I noticed that Fraser's last he did a HEMA activation. I think it was his first one. It had never been done before. There was a trig point there as well, one of the concrete pillars. And there's a chap down in Devon, Don G0RQL, and he's regular in the logbook. But yeah, SOTA's the main one. I want to do some different things. Been in touch with Fraser today about some different things to SOTA, which is activating for something called Work Tall Britain.
Oh yeah.
We have a Work Tall Britain. I think Dave over there, EI5 A and B, they have a Work Tall Island Award. They have something similar, but we spoke about some Work Tall Britain stuff as well, which is very popular over here in the UK. Yeah,
is that on? Can that be at any power level, or even from home, or is that a chasing event, or what? Tell a little bit more about it.
The worldwide flora and fauna. Start again. The Work Tall Britain. You've got chasers and activators very similar to SOTA. I'm going to touch on this later on with the speaking about various things. We've got topics. We're going to come into that a little bit later, Charlie, or I can do it now.
I was going to turn it over to you now to do it anyway. So yeah, just roll right into it.
Okay. When I were on the live stream with you about 18 months ago, I touched on this, but I didn't explain it very well, to be fair. Work Tall Britain, the United Kingdom is split up into 100 kilometre squares, 100 kilometre big squares. And each of those 100 kilometre squares is split into smaller 10 kilometre squares. Now, that's probably confused you. If you look at your grid locator, Charlie, I believe you're Delta Mike 43.
That's right. Yep.
So the Delta Mike is the big square, and then the 43 is the small one.
Right. Got it.
For instance, my grid square, my locator, Italy Oscar 93 Echo Tango. But my Work Tall Britain is, I think it's Sierra Echo 14. So they chase the squares, the trig points. Because when you're activating SOTA, you're doing Work Tall Britain. Somebody mentioned to Fraser on one of his recent activations, you're doing a worldwide flora and fauna and a porter as well. So yeah, Work Tall Britain, that crosses over with Summits on the Air and all sorts of other stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then so you were going to expand a little bit on this in your topic that you were going to talk about. So why don't you go ahead and cover your topic, and then we'll go to somebody else.
Okay. Well, the topic I chose might be a bit confusing. Is more or less. You mentioned, Charles, just before I nip into this, power levels. The license regulations are under review at the moment in the UK. As full licensees, we're restricted to 400 watts. Well, they're on about making that a kilowatt. It's under review, and they're looking at that in, I think, September. But for instance, you might decide to pop up to the Lake District, which is one of the national parks. It's one of my favourite places. That has 55 SOTA summits, I believe. Okay, Natalie and I are on holiday up there, September. So you go activate a SOTA summit in the Lake District National Park. I've just picked one off the top of my head. Golf / Lima Delta 017, Red Screes. You go activate the SOTA summit. There's a trig point up there, one of the concrete pillars, trig point 5619. So that's the Work Tall Britain guys, they chase that as well. It's also a Work Tall Britain Square November Yankee 80. So it qualifies for SOTA. It qualifies for Work Tall Britain. Being in the Lake District National Park, I think Fraser's in the biggest national park, the Cairngorms. I could be wrong, but I think that's the biggest one. But the Lake District National Park qualifies for worldwide flora and fauna, reference 0008. It also qualifies for parks on the air, Golf stroke 0165. So you've got 4 or 5 award schemes there that you qualify just by one activation. You may choose to just do the SOTA and just log your QSOs on the SOTA database, or you may choose to log them in all of those, Charlie.
Very interesting. Yeah. So that's similar to what I do on occasion. I'm doing more and more. Let me clear my throat. So I've been doing SOTA summits on the air. I've been realizing that most 90-something% of my SOTA activations are also qualify as parks on the air activations. So I've been starting to just upload the log to parks on the air in addition to SOTA, just because, and it's proved to be pretty cool. I haven't really done just parks on the air a whole lot, but when I do, I'm wondering if there's other things that it qualifies for. Probably worldwide flora and fauna, I would guess, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Imagine that qualifies for the worldwide flora and fauna.
Yeah, there's a few other things that we do here, like we do have the grid square chasing and the worked all states and stuff like that, but I don't think it's a similar scheme to what you're talking about. It's interesting. So you're doing this on a regular basis, then you're just starting to do this where you want to like start collecting the worked all Britain.
I've been logging my SOTA contacts, obviously. I've not really logged much on worldwide flora and fauna. I don't think I've logged anything on the parks on the air. But yeah, the worked all Britain stuff, you can download a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
One for activating and one for chasing. And it's an award scheme. I think your first award is for activating five trig points. And then it's every 5 after that.
Okay. Now, so real quick, I have another question here. Sorry to interrupt. I apologize. No, so the trig points, do you have to be on something with a trig point in order for it to be worked all Britain, or what? How does that work? What's the trig points? That's a different scheme. It's
the worked all Britain scheme, but the trig points is one of the awards within worked all Britain. There's various for chasing larger squares, for chasing the smaller squares, for chasing trig points. There's loads of awards in the worked all Britain scheme.
See, I could be sitting in my shack working someone on 40 meters in England, and if they know my locator, they could log my square as a worked all Britain square. You're really just collecting the squares by any means.
I see.
Yes.
Fun. Cool. All right.
Yeah, collecting the squares. That's the main thing.
Cool. All right. Does that about sum up your topic then, Chris?
There's something else that I should have mentioned, really, that again, I should have looked into. I said there were 55 SOTA summits in the Lake District. There's also the Wainwright Fells. There's 214 of those. The chap Alfred Wainwright, he's got some pictorial guides. He wrote some books, and they're really detailed. He's got photographs of all the, and he's plotted all the different routes up the summits and things. And there's the Wainwrights on the air as well, which is popular. Natalie and I have started collecting them. Obviously, if you do the Red Scree Summit I mentioned, Lake District number 17, it's also got the reference LDW049. So people chase the Wainwrights as well. And what's interesting about the Wainwrights in the Lake District is you only need one contact to qualify it. And some people, they just do it with a simple, just with a handheld, with perhaps a better antenna, a better whip antenna on top. And there's 214 of them. And there's walks that people do, and you can take 5 or 6 of these in a day. You just do a walk, but you only need one contact to qualify a Wainwright.
So a Wainwright is, you said Wainwright Fell. Is that F-E-L-L?
F-E-L-L-S. Wainwright Fells.
And what's a Fells?
Wainwright Fells is similar to you, mountains. Yeah. Like we've got something called Fountains Fell, Craco Fell. It's just another name for a mountain over here in the UK.
Okay, yeah. Over in the Georgia area, there's a lot of balds, B-A-L-D-S. You know,
those.
Raymond Bald and all that. And they're just mountains too. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. There's one of the Wainwright summits just near Buttermere, and Alfred Wainwright's his ashes are up there. And there's a saying that if you're walking across the top of that summit and you get a stone in your shoe, it could be part of him.
Okay. The legend lives on. All right. All right. Dan, do you have something prepared or no?
I do.
Okay. You want to go?
Sure. So mine's a little bit different. So I've done a SOTA goat, and I'm not so interested in, doubling or tripling or any of those kind of things. I'm more interested in, um, what's next kind of thing. So obviously one of the things that's next, and one of my friends, Terry N7TB, it popped up on my uh, phone last night, and we're texting back and forth. He was my first CW instructor at CW Ops, and really enjoyed his class. So CW is my number one as far as I'm calling it RF next. What am I going to be doing? In the future. But so that's definitely on there. Uh, Teaching is definitely on there. But there's a couple different things that I'm trying to figure out. SOTA challenges. What's next in SOTA? Well, there's definitely a lot of things out there. There's different summits that I'd like to visit, maybe in different states. The Crater Lake area is one that holds a lot of interest for me. There's a group of about 8 summits out there that uh, I really would like to go and visit. So I'm kind of looking for summits in other states. I'm looking for summit challenges, like I was talking about just a second ago. I want to spend time, perhaps the full 24 hours on a SOTA summit and try and, work all 50 states, for example, from multiple summits
Wow, that'd be cool.
as part of a challenge. Would really enjoy getting at least one summit in every state. That would be a lot of fun. And then for some reason, so 10 gig SOTA activations is on my list. I think that would be a very interesting and very challenging thing to do. I don't know of anybody, for example, in Arizona that's working in those areas. I know there's folks in California, so I'm hoping to maybe get a little bit of interest going in Arizona for doing that. Otherwise, I may have to travel to California.
Yeah, I know there's a few people that do 10 gig, but not for SOTA. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've definitely got some interest in that. So as well as one of the things I'd like to do is get some new folks out on the hills. So in Arizona, we've got a lot of interest in summits on the air. So hopefully we can keep that going and get some new people out on the summits as well.
Yeah, Arizona's. It's interesting because if you pull up a map, in fact, maybe I will pull up a map here. I want to show you guys. Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, we're kind of like a target-rich environment for some, and I have not even scratched the surface really in Arizona, but I'm already talking about going to other states. So,
yeah, I'm gonna pull up and show everybody kind of what I'm thinking here. Yeah, whoop, there it is. So if I zoom out, if you look at the United States, you'll see the summits. There's a big hole right in the middle here of the United States, and even like down here in Florida, Florida has no SOTA. Louisiana is that one in Louisiana or not? Yeah, it looks like it barely is. With Mississippi has one. So depending on where you're at, you may be more inclined to be a SOTA guy versus a Parks on the Air guy. And the West has definitely got a lot of SOTA, and then this Appalachian Mountains here is good as well. So I think the point can be made that depending on your where you live, you may be more inclined to participate in one program over another.
Other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also spending some time documenting. Like I said, I'm not so interested in running 3 hills in a day anymore. I'm perfectly happy with driving, I don't know, 4 hours and doing one summit and just enjoying that summit nowadays. So actually being able, taking the time and filming it and showing people what I enjoy about it would
Yeah.
really be of interest. So
Are you going to start a YouTube channel, Dan?
yes, as you know, I've kind of bantered some names around. I haven't fully decided, so that's on my hit list for this week to actually get that figured out. So,
Very
but
good.
yes.
Cool. All right, Fraser, why don't we hear from you next?
Yeah, I should mention at this point that my wife and I are having a holiday in Colorado in September, so I'm looking forward to the world's tallest drive-on summit, which is Pikes Peak, isn't it?
Pikes Peak, yes, that's
Yeah.
a wonderful summit.
I was going to mention, Fraser, that I am inclined to possibly make a trip up to visit you, since you'll be up in that area. I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but it's not like I'm saying this just because. I'm dead serious that I think I'm going to make an effort to get up there and visit you and at least meet you. And I've always wanted to do Pikes Peak too. I don't know if you want to share the summit or not, but maybe we'll figure out something anyway.
All right, that's cool. We'll talk about that for sure. As I said, my wife's recovering from back surgery, and this holiday it might be a bit touristic, but I'd imagine we'll certainly manage that one at least. But the KX2 and bits and pieces will be coming with me. So
yeah.
So my subject I was going to talk about was speed, and I suppose it's speed and efficiency really, because when I first started doing SOTA, because I'm used to climbing the big mountains in Scotland, people used to comment on how quickly I was doing them, and it wasn't that I was just after the points. I do enjoy a big mountain day where I could maybe knock off 2 or 3 M0RSFs, which are summits in Scotland that are over 3,000 feet. And 3,000 feet doesn't sound a lot, but you know, some of them you're climbing from sea level, so there is quite a bit of ascent there. But I do like a big expedition, and I kind of got really good at the planning side of it. But when I got to the top of the mountain, I'd spend ages just setting up a big mast, a dipole, guys, and then work out what I was doing, get my notepad out. I was using the FT857M then for everything, so that was a separate battery. It was quite heavy as well. And I was probably getting half a dozen or 10 contacts on 40 meters at that point, because the sun hadn't really come to life the way it has now. And I'd probably spend an hour on a summit, and it was making it quite a long day for me. And then as I kind of got a bit more experienced in it, it's weird because I'm really experienced in the mountains, but I was so inexperienced in operating a radio in a mountain area. I started to eventually just kind of, I suppose, develop a bit more efficiency. So the climbing up the hill bit, I was spot on with that. But you know what it's like with SOTA, you have to put your alert on. And in my head, I was always beating myself up if I was 5 minutes late for it. And on a day when you're doing, I know it's aspirational now, but on a day when you're doing several summits, that, you know, you take time on each summit, you could be an hour late for the final one. So I invested in a KX2 before they became very scarce, and I got a tuner from Germany for it because there weren't any in the UK. And then I started to, as I approached summit, look for things that would help me get my mast up, because there's not many summits with trees in Scotland. I know some American states you're blessed with those. So I'd start scanning, and it got to the point that I could do a multi-summit day. I think I did 5 summits one day, and I was 20 minutes a summit for an HF activation, just single band, because the objective of that day was not to sit and tune around the bands and work DX and all that kind of stuff. It was really just to give some guys the summit and then move on to the next one. And I think it was about a 15-mile hike with about 10 miles of cycling as well to get back to the car. And I was back at the car within 5 minutes of when I thought I was going to be there. So
that's timing right there.
Wow.
That was timing, yeah. And the other one I did is I pretty much walked from here almost to Aviemore over about 8 or 9 of the high Cairngorms tops. I spent 2 nights camping on the summits, and my wife was picking me up at the far end, and I said it was a 3-day march, and I was actually an hour late for the collection at the far end, which wasn't too bad really over 3 days.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's interesting you bring. I just want to pause real quick. I am kind of the same as you. For quite a few years, I was, beating myself up if I didn't hit the be within 5 minutes, and still to this day I do it as a game. and I try to predict from my house. I'll like, okay, so I'm going to do 2 summits today. Let's see, this amount of time to here. It'll take this much to drive, this much to hike, this much to set up. And I try to calculate and put my alert out and try to hit those marks. It's not like it used to be. Same as you. It used to be I'd be like, I'm going to be late, and I'd be like, I'd like I'll get all in my head. I'm going to be late and da 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 mumbling and stuff. But now I'm like, whatever. But let's just see how close we can get. I think it's a fun challenge. I don't know, personally.
Yeah. I think, I mean, if you're planning a big mountain day, I think it's important that you do have a decent plan and you know how long it's going to take you, because, if you're out in January or December around here and it gets dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't want to be stumbling about on mountaintops in the dark in the winter weather. But, I do think that it became an obsession. And like you say, Charlie, you start beating yourself up and then you don't enjoy the walk. And, the walk I did today, I've been up Morven loads of times. We go up, my wife and I climb it a few times a year because it literally, you can walk it from the house. And this morning I gave myself an extra half hour to get up there, and I had an amazing time looking at the wildlife. There was lots of different wildlife out today, different birds. Saw that everything's in bloom because it's summer. And if you're just marching on and all you're thinking about is SOTA, it can actually it can ruin a really nice day out in the hills.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only on the way up, but then, if you're behind schedule, then like you're not taking your time to stop in the top of the summit, look at the nice view and take it all in. You're just like, oh, I got to get this set up. I got to make the contacts. Oh, I got to tear down. We're gone. You don't even take in the beauty. Yeah.
That's right. And, I really loved what Dan was saying, because obviously when you're working towards a mountain goat, you are more focused on sort of points and where to go next and all this kind of stuff. And once I'd done that, I'd worked out that I'd actually nearly completed most of the summits in Northeast Scotland, which is a sort of golf mike / ES area. I had about 20 of those left, so I thought, okay, I'll go and mop those up. But as I was getting closer to that goal, I got more relaxed. I made an aerial for 10 meters one day and went away up a hill and just did just to 10. I really like doing VHF because it's quite a rural area here, and it feels like a real achievement. It probably feels like you would with microwaves, Dan. Even just doing 2 meters around here feels like that. So there's so much other stuff to enjoy. But I think for a lot of us, you probably want to get that goat out the way first before you can kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, when I first started in doing summits on the air, I just went and enjoyed those summits. If I did 1 and maybe 2 in a day, and it took me all day, that was great. I love that. And then you get over 500-600 points, and then you get goat fever. It's like, oh, I got to get this done. And now that's done. So now it's like I feel like, well, now I can go back to just doing it for the enjoyment of it so much. So that's what I look forward to.
Absolutely. And it actually made, I thought it was going to take me 10 years initially, and I did it in 2, but or less than 2, but it actually got me out and doing some expeditions I'd been planning for 25 years and never got done, like big hikes, across the mountains for 2 or 3 days into some really remote areas. And it opened up all that to me, and it gave me an excuse to get motivated and go and do some of that, which really pleased the Worked All Britain guys, Chris, because I was in some real remote territory, and I don't think any of those squares had ever been activated before. So I didn't realize how popular the Worked All Britain thing was until I was on like remote SOTA summits, and you have massive piles up. These guys massive. These guys look for the SOTA spots if you're in a remote square.
Yeah, I think we all agree on this, that alert time can take the fun out of it. If you feel you've got that deadline and you're rushing and you want to make it there. I've been known to be an hour late. Natalie and I, we activated a summit when we were on holiday down in Wales, and there were a diversion, and we ended up somewhere completely out of the way. We couldn't find it. Summit we'd done before, we knew the parking spot, but we just couldn't find it, and we were an hour late. But I think most of the chasers understand. Sometimes you're early, sometimes you're late. It's not set in stone, that activation time, is it? But it can take the fun out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the SOTA community. They understand what it takes to get to that peak. And even if it's a simple peak, they know all kinds of things happen, when you're out and about on remote roads and, trying to get to a trailhead, and, it takes you an extra time. And that's what I like about the SOTA community. I mean, more than likely, they're going to ask you, hey, you got there, is everything okay? Rather than being upset with you that you didn't make your time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Dan. You forget that, and it's really nice when you speak to the chasers. Today, when I obviously had to kibosh HF when my radio packed in, one of the guys who I did manage to work on VHF in the end, and he was a fair distance away, about maybe 150 miles. And he said, "Oh, I looked for you on 40, but I read your message because I'd respotted saying, I couldn't work on HF." And he said, "I really appreciate you going up today and putting on the activation." And then you just kind of go, "Oh, I made it worthwhile." Then you can kind of relax a bit and think, "Geez, yeah, it's not life and death, is it?"
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Is there anything else, Fraser, that you wanted to talk about before we move on to the next topic?
No, really, just if people watch my videos, they do see some big sort of mountain days in there, as well as me just doing some sort of nice stuff on one pointers. And then I would just say, if you're thinking about going into the mountains, just make sure you know what you're doing. Start off small. If you're attempting SOTA for the first time, go and have fun on a one pointer and learn how to work your radio and how it all works for you. And even just carrying. I see people carrying 20 kilos up a hill, and I can get my SOTA HF and VHF station down to probably less than 5 kilos now, including first aid kits and waterproofs and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I would recommend it to anyone to start off. But you sometimes watch the videos and you think you've got to be superhuman to go and do all this stuff, but no, go and find a drive on and have a nice afternoon in the summer playing radio somewhere and go from there.
Yep, for sure. Cool. All right. Well, my topic is on the groups, activities, and group events, and the importance of doing those and planning those out. And I know you guys have some of that going on your end, and I want to give you guys some time to talk about that. But here in Arizona, we do the mini morning madness thing. And it's kind of in addition to the normal program for Summits on the Air. And what we do is a group of us go out. We have a pretty good following on it's called the Groups.io email distribution list, and we kind of interact there. But then we also have a channel, or not a channel, but a frequency that we talk on VHF simplex. And so we're always talking to each other and coordinating. But then on occasion we will plan an event that we can do together, and we'll all get on a summit together at the same time. This one particular event that I'm talking about, Mini Morning Madness, is early at sunrise. We've had as many as 12 different people on a summit at the same time, all doing summit to summit, and then also there was a bunch of chasers involved, and that adds some fun and flavor to the programs that you're participating on. But I think more than that, it helps build those relationships and camaraderie. And that's kind of where my topic is. I feel like that we as ham radio operators and those who are in our community need to do that as much as possible. Another thing that we do is it's called 10-Point Madness, Summit to Summit event. It's an annual event, and it's where people get one. It's on a Saturday, the first Saturday in October. We have everybody on that can get on a 10-point summit, and we do the same concept. So we have we've had, I think, up to 35 people on a 10-point summit simultaneously working each other, and most of them, we can get VHF contacts, but some of them are so far away even within the state of Arizona that we have to do HF. But it's grown to the point where we have people participating in Colorado and Washington and California, and it's a fun event. So that's kind of an event. There's activities. There's also, we have an annual meetup where everybody in the state of Arizona that's a SOTA guy tries to get together in one location and just rub shoulders, have a little a barbecue and enjoy that. And also there are things like online meetups where you can do a stream together. I think that you guys do something like that, maybe with the other YouTubers. So what do you guys do as far as some of these events? Maybe I'll start with you, Chris, and you can mention maybe what are some of the events or activities that you like planning and what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, I think our little group that does the live streams, James M0RSF, who he runs the streams like yourself. I got an invite from him to join, I think that's how I met Fraser actually, and Dave, EI5IMB. And I say we did a Summits on the Air 4 Nations event, which is myself in England, Fraser up in Scotland, James, he nipped over the border into Wales, and David, EI5IMB, he did operated from a summit over in Echo India in Ireland. We managed to work each other, summit to summit. Everybody worked everybody, which was fantastic. And then we sort of broke off and worked as own little pile-ups. We did the Worldwide Flora and Fauna event as well. We've got a little WhatsApp group on us phones, and we're in there. And I feel like we've known each other. It's not ages, but there's a little bit of ribbing now and a little bit of taking the mickey out of each other. You know, it's settled it. They're a good set. We promote these events on Facebook, telling the locals around here, spread the word. And I'm hoping there's gonna be more in future, because they're a good set. They say this for to have a meetup would be absolutely brilliant. I think that's been mentioned recently. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. But that would be absolutely fantastic if we could get together and actually meet in person.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned we should go to the Hamvention, and I was like, that's a bit far. Maybe we should go to a nice Irish pub where Dave lives.
There you go.
Start there.
Yeah, Dublin. Yeah. Dublin.
Yeah.
From where I am in the north of England, there's Leeds Bradford Airport half an hour from me, and to catch a flight over to Dublin, it's about 45 minutes. That's all it is on a plane. That would be. We could sample some of the black stuff over there, Fraser. Yeah. Some of the Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Fraser? What are your thoughts? And do you have any other activities or events you like?
You know, I think I'm open to anything. I quite often say to folk on when we do our own live streams, if anyone's got any ideas, then I'll consider it. Yeah, I do love when we, as Chris said, when we manage to have our little summit to summit events. A lot of us work different shifts, and it's difficult to get together, but it's good even if you only do it once or twice a year. The other thing I'm involved in is 145 Alive. So it's also a YouTuber that Tim Golf 5 Tango Mike, who does a lot of antenna videos, really good antenna stuff. And he came up with the idea of trying to promote activity on 2 meters, not necessarily SOTA, but just to get people out using the band. So 2 or 3 times a year, a group of us at strategic places right across the UK will set up a station, and we'll try and run a net on a Saturday afternoon. And I think the first time I did it from the Land Rover, and using a big mast. It's a white stick event. It's not Yagis. It's aimed at just all-round communication. And I think I've made about 20 or 30 contacts, which was really good for North East Scotland on a Saturday. The second time I did it from a SOTA summit, which was hilarious because it was the end of April and it had just snowed the night before. So it was like a winter activation. And we got a real good net going, and there was 2 or 3 other guys in Scotland had gone out on SOTA summits with an event in mind. So we had a real good time, and it's got people talking about sort of 2 meters again, which I don't know if it's the same case in the States, but it's felt like it's kind of dying a bit in this country.
Yeah, it depends. Again, kind of, that map I brought up of the summits. If you brought up a map of VHF users, it might be kind of the same, but it might follow more in line with the rural versus city kind of thing. Yeah. If you're in a populated area, there's more use of VHF than there is in the rural areas. I'm from Wyoming, and Wyoming, the state in itself is pretty rural. I mean, in the whole state of Wyoming, which is about the size of Arizona, you more or less, you have 500,000 people in the whole state. So that gives you an idea of the rural nature of it. And so I go from the Phoenix metro area. So the Phoenix metro area is the 6th largest metro area in the United States, and we have no problem with VHF participation at all, to going to Wyoming, where I'm like struggling to find a single person to talk to. And it's just interesting. Yeah, I think that the rural areas like where you live in, Fraser, you need to. It is more of a challenge to find that interaction. Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I agree. We're very fortunate here in Arizona, especially in the rural metro area, where we have a lot of summits, and like Charlie was saying, Mini Morning Madness is a big thing. I haven't been getting up early enough to participate lately, but
It is
matter of fact,
early, isn't it?
yeah. So the Lone Mountain, the same one that Charlie did, is on my hit list for doing a mini Morning Madness. But after the last bee incident, maybe I won't do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we really enjoy, a lot of the things, get-togethers and stuff like that, like the 10-point madness thing in October. I was just looking. There's 13 folks that have already signed up mountains, and I need to select my peak. I know which one I would like to do, but I also would like to do that earlier this year, and just camp out on there. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I might have to do it twice and just not get the points for it the second time around.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that kind of sums up my topic. I just want to make sure that people, consider planning and organizing events of some sort where it doesn't have to be a club. And there are many people out there who are not club people, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the camaraderie of a few friends. And there's usually activities or events that you can put together that would bring you together, whether it's on the air or in person. And I think it's a good way to enjoy the hobby. So just encourage people to do that, I think.
Excellent,
It's great to get together with kind of a loose-knit community of people that enjoy, some of the same activities, especially like SOTA, right? So, you see people who are more hiking concentric or more radio concentric, but we're all nature concentric, which is I think what brings us all together. And it's a lot of fun because you don't see those people face to face very often, so it's interesting and talk about adventures that everybody's had.
Yeah. Cool.
Superb. Charlie, Jim Williams asked on the chat if I could talk for a minute about the clothing I wear in the winter. Is that okay?
Yeah, where's that at? I didn't quite see that one.
It was Jim Williams that mentioned it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And it's a very good point, because the clothing that people wear for mountaineering in the winter in Scotland tends to be a layering system, where you would maybe have a base layer like a vest, then a sort of fleecy layer on top, or a shell, and then you've got this obviously like a Gore-Tex or something like that on top to keep the wind and the weather out. And that works okay, as long as you're moving, which most people are when they're climbing hills in the winter. Maybe stop for a sandwich or a snack, take a photo, but they're keeping going. It became very obvious to me very quickly that that doesn't work when you're doing a SOTA activation, because you can arrive at the top of a mountain and minus Celsius temperatures, quite a lot of wind chill, and you've got to set up your station, keep your fingers warm, find a place to sit, and then you could be there for an hour. So I very quickly realized that that wasn't going to work. So that there's a company in the UK called Buffalo Clothing, and they make these amazing smocks that you pull over, and you're actually supposed to wear them next to your skin. Now, I'm not brave enough for that. I wear like a North Face or something, sort of vest type base layer under it. And you can pull the zips up and vent them and stuff. You tend to be a little bit warm in them when they go up hills, but honestly, you could sit up on a mountaintop all day. They're super lined with sort of pile, and they've got a Pertex coating on them to keep the wind off, a hood that you can Velcro and Velcro off. So I've kind of started using things like that in the winter. And if you're on a steep hike, you can normally kind of strip off a couple of layers and maybe just put this thing on when you get to the top. But it's absolutely superb for sitting on a SOTA summit. I don't get cold hands, and people always comment on my videos. I could be sitting using VK Portalog on my phone and operating a radio with bare skin and minus temperatures. The very most I'll put on is a thin layer of gloves, but I just noticed Jim was wearing gloves today on one of his tweets. He was using a straight key in some parks on the air somewhere. But I'm fortunate I don't get cold extremities, so that does help me. But you definitely need to think about clothing differently if you're going to be sitting about for a while on a cold, windswept mountain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and know that when you're hiking to the top of the mountain, you're not going to wear the same clothes you are as when you're sitting on the top of the mountain.
Yes, absolutely.
Like you said,
Definitely.
I always pack a coat. I only have like a couple, even in below freeze temperatures. I only have maybe 3 layers and not a heavy coat on the 3 layers because I'm hiking and so I'm just burning off the heat. But once I get to the top, I throw that coat on because I'm in a, and even then I'm still shivering sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a technique. If I'm kind of hot and sweaty at the top of a hill, I'll maybe start setting up the mast, even if it's cool and windy, and that just gives a chance for the moisture and everything to come off of your clothing and come out of you, and then I'll put my warm layer on, and because you don't want to put a warm layer on top of a kind of a clammy, sweaty body, so it's
True.
nice to get all that off first, and you get your warm layer on and you settle down, and then you're okay. But it's just one of these things I think I learned with experience.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm always kind of amazed, you know, after hiking up to a summit in Arizona, and it could be 85 degrees at the top, but you take that backpack off, and you know you're wet from the hike up from all the sweat, and you get a breeze, and man, it's amazing. It's like, wow, that's pretty cold, actually.
Yeah. Oh, Charlie, you're muted.
Thank you so much. I was going to say we're nearing the end here. We're almost at the end because we've only got a few minutes here left. So let me first off, before we give everybody a chance to have some closing remarks, let me just thank Chris for suggesting that we all get together. I really appreciate the suggestion, and I love the idea, and I think this went well. I think I did really enjoy it. Thanks to Fraser for being here as well, and for your insightful thoughts for both of you. I am interested in doing this on a more regular basis. I think it'd be fun to share ideas and stuff like that across the pond with you, and just kind of build a camaraderie like we're talking about. So we'd be happy to join you on one of your channels on the live stream at some point, and just you know, we can just figure it out as we go. But definitely a lot of fun, and want to do it again. So thank you for being here. Dan, what do you have to say?
Likewise, I enjoyed this. We don't get an opportunity to do this with folks from other countries that enjoy the same types of hobbies, you know, amateur radio. And I look forward to you know, doing this again. It's a lot of fun to see what's the same and what's different, and what kind of, you know, sub contests each country has. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Chris, any last thoughts?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for having us on, Charlie. We'll definitely have to do it again sometime. It's been great. I do enjoy it. Like Dan says, I enjoy listening to the stories that you chaps have to tell, the equipment you use, the things that you do. It's quite fascinating. For instance, the temperature, I found 29 degrees awful. You find that comfortable? But regarding the time difference between us guys, I wonder if we could organise an on-air event, possibly. Obviously, there's a time difference.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, morning over your side, similar time to this, to give us guys chance of possibly some summit to summit contacts, if anybody's interested in that, Charlie.
Yeah, well, there is the EU North American, what is it? The European North American Summit to Summit event in fall, but that's always uncomfortable. But that's the ideal time to do it because that's when propagation is the best.
Yeah.
But we could do something offline, away from that. Definitely, you know, some sort of a little event where we can plan that. Maybe when it's not as cold for you guys. Because when is it? I think it's the first week of September, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in September. Which
I think it's November. I think.
Oh, November. You're right. It is November. It's actually colder. Yeah, it's like right in the middle of the winter for you guys. So that can be challenging. But of course, like I said, it's the best propagation. But I like the idea. I think we should do it, Chris. Yeah.
Excellent. And of course, we'll have a word amongst ourselves, and hopefully we can get you on like say one of our streams, Charlie. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Fraser.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, guys, for having us on. It's amazing that, we're all so similar and we share the same passion, but we all do it so differently. Because I watched Charlie's YouTube short yesterday when he bailed out of that hill because of these African bees. I hear people talking about, poison. Is it poison oak? You get the last time when I was in the States, I was so paranoid about that, but I didn't even know what it looked like. And I think I got off okay. And then, obviously at our end, we could be dealing with hypothermia and all sorts of stuff. But, we all do the same thing, but it's so different for us as individuals. It's brilliant.
Yep, for sure. Cool. All right. Well, once again, thanks. I just have a couple of housekeeping items, and then we'll close the stream down. Make sure you guys hang on after we end the live so we can say goodbye to you on the other end. But I just wanted to mention to those of you who are paying members who are members of the YouTube channel that have that paid subscription, we are doing a giveaway. It's going to be right after this, directly right after this. It's the Radioddity G. What is it? I always get it wrong. G5FB, I think, or something like that. GS5B. So go to Discord. In fact, I'm going to post in right now. I'm going to post in the chat a Discord invite. This is, again, for the members only, though. But if you are a member and watching, then go ahead and join there. But if you are not, we have a community there as well, where you can join and just chat with us. You won't be able to do the giveaway, but you'll be able to hang out with us. And then also make sure that you subscribe to Fraser's YouTube channel and subscribe to Chris's YouTube channel. I think you can find them both in the link in the description below this this video. And with that, I'm just going to say 73, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, 73.